I'm Jishnu, and you are listening to Q for Quarantine. In times when not everything is at its best, when times are scary and most of us don't know what to expect from life anymore, I'm here to help you out with it. Pablo Picasso once said, "The purpose of art is washing the dust of daily life off our souls." As we get unsure about what the future holds, we must buy time. Time for the curve to flatten, time for the doctors to come up with a vaccine, time for the world to heal. Days into quarantine, however, many of us who create started facing challenges we didn't pay much attention to in the beginning. Anika and I went to school together. Now we both study art and design at premier institutes. We were texting about things that we are both going through right now, in lockdown. And we couldn't help but get on call to talk about the mental well-being of artists during quarantine. Today's Q for Quarantine episode is a conversational one, where we talk and it's unfiltered, unedited mostly, different from the episodes we've released before. Hope you like it.
Okay, so for me, it became exceptionally hard to grasp this whole idea because I'm an art student. So the idea of online classes, being an art student, was pretty bizarre. I felt like there was a pressure to make the most out of this quote unquote vacation. Didn't feel like one, doesn't feel like one. I see a lot of my peers, a lot of my friends actually making the most out of it, which is great. But I just can't bring myself to do that. I guess that's coupled with like isolation and mental health being affected due to isolation in such a way that I'm be creative. I feel like I need social stimulation. I need like a structure in my life that is not self-imposed for me to be creative. And there's just like the kind of person who I have grown to be attending classes when I was since when I was younger, like going to school, having these thousands of tuition teachers, to all these like imposed structures in my life which have made me kind of be a slave to it. So now that there is absolutely zero external structure that's on me, it's very hard for me to find that self discipline to function in a way that will help my creativity.
And I also think that as artists, like stimulation is extremely important. There's so much power in the option to go out. If I wanted to stay in, that's one thing. But when that option is taken away from you and when you have no outlet, what does that do to you, right?
Definitely. It feels, it's like the whole thing about being an ambivert, which I think I am, where I can be extroverted and can be outgoing and social and want to go out. And I also can be introverted on days when I want to feel like that. I feel like right now I don't have my social like stimulation is currently restricted to a screen and FaceTime calls and phone calls and video chats and all and Zoom classes. Um, I'm not saying that I am dying to go out and party or dying to go out and do something crazy. It's just the fact that the uncertainty of how long we have to remain in this state is it's pretty scary. I feel like we're living in exceptional times, which as creatives, as non-creatives, we never really expected it, and definitely weren't mentally prepared for this.
Yeah, and somehow people expect like creative people to take this opportunity and regard it as something that is they're so lucky, like
Mhm.
a space, a time where they are just by themselves, they are doing their own thing, and apparently we are supposed to find it very fun and very enjoyable. But that is not how most artists work, which is like a major misconception.
Mhm. I agree and I disagree at the same time because I see so many of my friends who are also artists who are absolutely having the time of their lives right now. Obviously, in hindsight, like, they're they're definitely being considerate of everything that's going around, but the free time is something that they're really exploiting to be really creative. At the same time, there are people like me and some of my other friends who are absolutely struggling. Um,
Yeah.
this is time me spending waiting for this to be over instead of time me spending relishing this free time. You know what I mean? Like, feels
Yeah.
like a long wait instead of like cherishing this free time. I just kind of want
Like,
the wait to be over.
yeah, like we're almost like on pause and we're waiting for our life to get back on track.
Yes,
And when
exactly.
will and do you think that, like, in any way, if you were back home, things would have been different for you?
That's a very interesting question since I've not been back in almost 2 years now and definitely wasn't planning to go back anytime soon. I guess at this point, going back would make me feel more alienated because I've kind of established somewhat of a life here, outside academics. And I think just the fact that I am in physical proximity to my friends, even though, we are all in our own places, the fact that they're there and I know I can run to them once this is all over is just giving me something to look forward to.
I, for example, sometimes I get really weirded out about, oh, if I, make one small mistake or do something differently, and if I somehow get the virus, there's this always this impending doom that the media is always telling us,
Hmm.
to, oh, don't do anything, don't do this, do that. But do you think that uh, that somehow, like, also pressurizes you to worry about yourself more and panic about yourself more than is necessary?
Never really actually considered myself to be in harm's way, mostly because I had that mentality that, oh, I'll be fine. It just never occurs to me that something can go wrong with me. Not saying I think that I'm invincible, by no means that's true, but I guess I've always just been more focused on being anxious about my parents or my friends more than myself.
Talking to some other artists and creators and also people who are not artists, I noticed this very typical pattern that even if they have not been mentally ill before or they have not been diagnosed or whatever, most of them, at least the people I have spoken to, have told me that they are resorting to, they are looking for certain things in their life, maybe alcohol or drugs or cigarettes or whatever, and also food and also sleep and also other things like that, to just cope with the continuous worry that, oh, is this the end of the world?
Hmm.
Like, it's gone to that place where at the back of our mind, since we have no certainty at all about when this is going to end, when there's going to be a vaccine, nothing, we know no date. So do you feel like that is the case with people around you, like the people you speak to and yourself also?
I would say yes to an extent, because at the end of the day, uncertainty really like sows the seeds of anxiety in so many people, and I know myself included, and a lot of my friends around. We're all just so anxious and just so
Yeah.
like on the edge as to like what's gonna happen because we're not used to taking a day at a time. We're not used to not knowing what's gonna happen in a week. Things might be completely different by the end of this very week.
Especially since we live in such an engineered world.
Yeah, I remember the day our school got shut down. It was supposed to be for that very week, but midway through that week we got the notice it's going to be shut down for the whole semester because of how things exponentially changed within those few days. So the fact
Yeah.
that we don't really know what's coming and which direction it's going to be leaning at, whether things are going to get exponentially better or worse before it gets better, is what makes everyone anxious, and it makes them kind of fall back upon these somewhat negative or like rather less constructive coping mechanisms. I know for me, it's been a lot of sleep actually. I've been
Yeah.
sleeping quite more than I should be. And I've also been procrastinating so much of my schoolwork. I've been so distracted, even though there's much less distraction in terms of actual coursework, but there's so just like psychological distractions. Mental health definitely has gotten way worse. Yep.
Right. The same thing happened with my college too, that they announced a week's holiday, and we were all like, oh, it's just 1 week, it's gonna get over after that. And that's that. And oh, this is just a small thing in the back of our
Mhm.
minds. But when that, blew up like it did, I don't know about you, but like over here, most of the people from college have left for their homes, since especially like most of them live in the country in India. So it's pretty easy. So are people around you, are they back home, or what are they doing? Are they staying back?
It's just like a mixture right now of people who are here and people who are not here, and neither side of us know when we are going to be back on campus next.
And I'm so very proud to say that all proceeds made from this podcast will be donated to the World Health Organization COVID 19 Solidarity Response Fund. Since they launched it less than 2 weeks ago, the fund has raised over 95 million US dollars. If you have the means to support the ones in need in any which way, I would like to urge you to do so. Q for Quarantine is now available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Snitcher, YouTube, or wherever you listen. If you like what you're listening to, do consider sharing it with the ones who might enjoy content like this. With more listeners, it gets easier for us to support the causes we believe in. A huge thank you to the ones who are already listening and the ones who listened last week. I think a lot of people have majors and they study subjects that are very easily transferable to electronic media.
Hmm.
Whereas art is a very tricky subject like that, because if you're doing a painting class, how do you teach it online?
Exactly.
And things like that.
My friends who are from different majors, such as illustration or fine arts, or um, I don't know, people, my friends who do sculpture and other more tactile, traditional art forms, they are definitely struggling. Um, some have just been devoted in making personal work, and I'm not really sure how their classes are going. And my best friend in my school is a film major, and all their
Mhm.
work was hands-on in product, like on set work, with equipment, and now it's just really displaced and hard. Obviously, all the whole faculty is, they're doing such a great job. Honestly, they're everyone's going through this together. Our faculty has been great in helping us, and all the students have been very patient, and everyone's been cooperating so well. But at the end of the day, it still feels so strange to go to art
Yeah.
school online, you know?
Yeah, and especially since we have all grown up, most of us at least, have grown up with such traditional schooling.
Mm-hmm.
So all of a sudden, just going completely online seems like you're learning on, like you're watching a YouTube tutorial almost. I have also been finding myself very lazy and laid back, and I've been procrastinating a lot. And I think I have been pushing off my assignments a little bit since the quarantine
Don't
started.
even start about that, man. I feel you. Oh my god. I totally agree and relate to that because I feel like when classes were on and I had my on-campus job and everything, I had such a busy schedule every week. I would barely get a chance to do my homework. I would be doing my homework in other people's classes or doing my homework at work and like always just like really busy. And now I have all the time in the world and I'm not doing anything. I'm doing shit. Do
Yeah,
I have stuff to do? Of course I do. I still have the same workload. That's not changed. But somehow the urgency is gone. Somehow the focus or the the yearn or like even like the eagerness in me to do it has gone. Somehow I feel like I'm doing it because I have to meet these deadlines, because I have to have something, not because, oh shit, I have this assignment. I'm so pumped to do this. It's such a great assignment. I feel like I'm losing interest, not because of what I'm studying, but because of the circumstances around me.
yeah, and it also somehow feels like, oh, if I do this and then, like, if something uncertain happens, then almost like, oh, this, as if we've already started to accept that this is kind of in some way the end or something. Like, it's very weird to explain to someone who isn't going through this, but I was just telling it to you in a very uh, in a way that was not very certain and assertive, because I was scared that, like, if that's the same case, I was like wondering if that's the same case with you. But it's like, it's really relieving to hear that it's literally the same, and I'm not the only one who's pushing off work.
No, you're
And
definitely not the only one. I feel like this is one of the very rare times where the whole world is collectively having a really shitty time. I haven't spoken to a single soul who isn't suffering in some form or the other, who isn't struggling in some form or the other, because of what's happening. And it's it's great to know that we're in this together. It is also really sad to know that we're in this in the first place, because as much as one day we will be in history books, I would much rather read the history books than live in it, you know?
absolutely, absolutely, it sounds so much fun on pages and pictures. And since you mentioned about your work, uh,
Hmm.
I don't know what you do. So have you been getting a paid leave? Are you not? Of course, you're not going to work. So how is that? Like, how are you working that out?
Very, very thankfully and gratefully, our school decided to give student workers paid leave, which is amazing. I was so worried about that, but they told us that we'll be getting paid leave for the rest of the semester, and hopefully by the end of the semester, everything is fine. The world is in a better place. I'm not saying things will be cured and vanished, but I hope the world is stable enough for social distancing to stop. Hopefully, it's just speculations at this point, but maybe summer onwards, on campus stuff can start and I can actually start going to work in person instead of just being on paid leave.
That's true. If I was, or probably if you were, or any of us were told at any other point of time that, oh, hey, listen, you're getting paid leave, and on top of that, you don't have to attend school, and you can stay at your own place and do whatever you want at your own time, and there's no routine, absolutely. That would have sounded like such a grand, such a beautiful, nice idea.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yep.
right, I can tell you that I've dreamed of this before, and I've told myself, oh, only if I had some more free time, and only if I didn't
Yep.
have to go to school. It's so weird that we need to be careful about what we wish for.
I feel like it's not even about what we wish for, it's like the context in which a wish has been granted at this point. I wouldn't even say it's been granted, honestly. It's, yes, we have a lot of free time now. We don't really have anywhere to go. We don't really have much to do. But I feel like psychology is everything. If we could be doing so much when you're so busy, when your mind is fine, and you can have all the time in the world and not do anything because your mind is just not feeling that great. And I feel like I and a lot of people right now are at that point where, yes, we know we can do a lot. I know we can read a book and watch a movie and get over this and count our blessings that we have so much free time. But it sadly doesn't work like that for everyone. And I wish it did. I really wish it did. It's great for the ones who are being able to enjoy this time. But again, like I said, it's not for everyone.
From that, since we're very brown and very Indian, I would like
Mm-hmm.
to come down to the topic of our parents.
Mm-hmm.
And since mine are absolutely panicking to the point of no return, what about yours?
I would say there's definitely anxiety and panic and worry in both my parents. And my mom also lives in New Jersey. She calls me, or we just chat online. Make sure we're both staying indoors and washing our hands and all of the above. It's most of the time me schooling her to stay indoors and just wait it out. My mom has started watching Netflix, which she never did before because she just did not have time. And now she's watching the series that I've been begging her to watch for years. Now she started watching series which I haven't watched, and you know, it's very these are very weird circumstances.
Yeah, crazy things are happening actually. Like
Hmm.
people are behaving weird ways that we never expected they would. Yeah, it's difficult to navigate.
I would say, however, though, like as much as I'm talking about how bad this is for me, it's definitely not trying to undermine the
Yeah.
struggles of people. There's so much worse happening. There's people going through so much worse. There are people dying. There are people they've some of my friends have lost their jobs. Some of my friends have no idea when they're coming back to wherever they were studying. um some of my friends' families have been affected by this, and there's so much bad happening. My friends have been victims of racism just because of everything that's happening, and it's just sad. It's so sad. Like I said, everyone is going through a shitty time in some capacity, in some different level of intensity. And just wanted to say that as much as I am complaining about being a stuck up creative in this isolation phase, I'm definitely aware that there's so much worse happening. And I guess I'm kind of lucky in that way that I don't have the struggles that they do. I'm very aware of that privilege. Um,
Yes. And it's pretty evident that like both of us we're both having a conversation. We both go to these art and design schools that
mhm.
are like pretty privileged kids go to, and in no way are we saying that, oh, like we are having such a bad time, oh my god. But yeah, I mean, like we are not undermining, but at the same time, like all struggles and all battles are battles. And
Yeah.
yeah, is there anything in specific you are doing in a positive way to cope with all of this?
Yeah, I would say I have been forcing, honestly, I wish I could give you a list of things that I'm doing. Talking very realistically, it's been really hard to just even get out of my bed. Um, that's, just my personal state of my mental health due to various reasons, not just this virus situation, but other personal stuff that's weighing me down right now. It's been hard. It's been really hard.
And this only makes it worse, right?
Yeah, it really doesn't help. So things that I've been doing to help myself, I've really been sleeping a lot, honestly. I don't know if that's good or bad, but I feel like I'm making up for all the sleep that I've lost over the past 4 semesters. Um,
Right. Oh my god. Hard
I
relate.
right. I have been listening to a lot of new music. I have been watching a lot of shows. Kind of running out of shows to watch, which is scary. Um, and lastly, I've been trying to just talk to people, FaceTime them and call them and text them and just check in on my friends and make sure they're doing okay. And like, I guess it's just acknowledgement that I'm not the only one right now. I'm never the only one, but more so now. So I guess just like trying to ride this tide out together with my friends in whichever capacity, and just telling myself that it's gonna get worse before it gets better, but it will get better, and just constantly telling that to myself, even though part of my brain does not believe that. I guess it's just something you have to do. You kind of need to fake it till your brain's like, oh, okay, got it. We believe that now.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
A huge thank you to Anika for joining me on this episode. I've listed most of the resources that I found online, and you can always reach out to me to start a conversation on Twitter. I'm always available at Jishnu Bando, that's at JISHNU_BANDO. I'm also on Instagram at JishYouwish, JISHYOUWISH. I am Jishnu, and you were listening to Q for Quarantine. This podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Snitcher, YouTube, or wherever you listen. You can follow Q for Quarantine at the QFQ Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you for listening. Stay home. Stay safe.